Hello and welcome to the latest edition of Untitled Reviews. This time around we're taking a look at Corsair's Scimitar RGB Elite wired gaming mouse specifically designed for usage in MMO or MOBA games. It's their latest addition to the Scimitar gaming mice range and at a price of £75 is more expensive than some competitors, but with an 18,000 DPI sensor and 17 programmable buttons that might just be a price worth paying. On the front of the box we find a large picture of the Scimitar RGB Elite complete with Corsair logos and mention of IQ software. On the back of the box we find a kind of product information in a bit more detail, once again reiterating the 17 programmable buttons, Corsair's patented 12 button repositionable key slider, its 18,000 DPI optical sensor, 50 million click rated Omron switches and a durable scroll reel and a flexible braided cable. Inside the box we find the Scimitar RGB Elite itself, complete with warranty guide and instruction manual, as well as a small screwdriver. In terms of design then, it's abundantly clear that the Scimitar RGB Elite isn't your typical gaming mouse, especially given the fact that it's designed for MMO or MOBA games like Dota or World of Warcraft. But I suppose more typical is the matted coating that Corsair have chosen to use, similar to Rockat's on their Kane 200 AMO, which ensures that this mouse is both practical and comfortable, and it's a big upgrade on the rival's hard plastics. It's a nicely contoured mouse, especially given kind of this coated bit on the right hand side for your ring finger and pinky finger as well, which ensures a firm grip is kept throughout the gaming experience. It is a quite heavy mouse, I suppose, at 122 grams, but it's 25 grams lighter than its predecessor. It might be a bit too heavy for some, which means that some competitors may have the edge for quick-fire reactions, but in the grand scheme of things, 122 gram weight for a mouse isn't really much. And with, I suppose, the 17 programmable buttons, 12 of which are on this little panel on the left-hand side, it's justified weight. And on the subject of those 17 buttons, it may be overwhelming at first if you've just used a normal mouse, as I had, but it doesn't take too long to become accustomed to these, with two textured columns, namely the ones for 4, 5 and 6, and 10, 11 and 12, which means that they're easy to distinguish within the heat of battle. If I've got one small criticism on the design of the Scimitar RGB Elite, is that it's perhaps a little bit too wide. And it's not something that will afflict all, but it's all down to hand size and preference. Now this little screwdriver that we mentioned in the what's in the box section does actually serve a purpose. As with the Scimitar RGB Elite, there is the choice to move this kind of panel of 12 buttons up and down dependent upon where you want it, so you can move it up and down as you can see. And so I wanted it all the way back. You just screw it in as you would tighten any normal screw. There we go. Leave that out of the way, and it's firm there and firmly in place for you to use. And so overall, I think that the Scimitar RGB Elite certainly looks the part. That matted coating helps to make it extra comfortable, as does the slightly rubberized bit on the right hand side. And those 17 programmable buttons are all tactile, and it's certainly worth the money if you're going to be going into any MMO gaming anytime soon. In terms of performance, the Scimitar RGB Elite works absolutely perfectly for what it's designed to do. Its 18,000 DPI sensor works a charm in fast-paced combat, and because it's designed for MMO and MOBA games, that's why you've got that large amount of buttons. And those buttons are, as we saw previously, easy to move and deciding on your placement. All that being said though, it's not my go-to mouse for first-person shooters, with the fact that it's a bit too heavy, but it might be an option for some if perhaps you've got wider hands and you want something that's going to suit that. But otherwise, even at 122 grams, as we said before, it's a pretty light mouse, and that braided cable means that it will glide absolutely perfectly across the desk. And it's also quite minimalistic in design as well, so you're not going to be affected by just constantly looking down at the blaring RGB lights that you see rolling around, which you might do on some of Razer's mice, for instance. But in terms of performance, Corsair have really kind of outdone themselves with the Scimitar RGB Elite, especially with that 18,000 DPI sensor on an MMO-oriented mouse. Where the Scimitar RGB Elite does win, though, is through its stellar programming ability offered by Corsair's IQ software that's also simple to navigate and offers great lighting functionality too. And IQ makes programming easier than ever before, with a multitude of actions programmable through it. As well as programming macros, has the ability to sort out text, play media, launch applications, set timers, switch between the onboard profiles that the Scimitar RGB Elite also offers, as well as remapping any mouse button you like to any key on a keyboard, from the A to Z keys to symbols to function keys, even down to keys on specific language variants or individual keystrokes or mouse buttons. There's also great lighting effects offered, as said before, thanks to also the individual programming on 4 zones that the Scimitar RGB Elite offers that are all crisp and sharp. There's the individual presets of rainbow, colour pulse and colour shift, and some custom ones so you can choose any specific colour you want, or a solid colour or gradient, and you can also link it to other devices such as the temperature on a CPU cooler, for instance, or any specific Corsair peripherals or PC components that you have. There's the option to switch the DPI within all kind of 5 different stages, anything from 100 to the 16,000 to the 18,000 DPI sensor that the Scimitar RGB Elite comes with, as well as a sensitivity clutch for those really precise moments. In the performance section, we can also kind of use angle snapping or enhance the pointer precision, as well as changing the individual pointer speed for those real precise moments. And as this is a wired mouse, Corsair also offer you the chance to calibrate this mouse to any particular surface. So if you hold this circle here and spin your mouse around in continuous speed, you can calibrate your mouse specifically and perfectly to a specific surface to offer you maximum levels of precision. So it's certainly clear that the combination of the Scimitar RGB Elite and Corsair's IQ software is a real force to be reckoned with, especially on MMO or MOBA gaming situations. So, in conclusion then, what do we think to the Scimitar RGB Elite? Well, in terms of out-the-box specs, it's up there with some of the best mice at this price point and even higher. With its 18,000 DPI sensor and industry-standard Omron switches, you're getting something that's reliable, sensitive, and also has quite a clicky punch. And it's perfect for what it's designed for, with Corsair offering unrivaled quality in terms of design, button placement, and programming ability, thanks to the IQ software. The only real worthwhile alternative is the Scimitar Pro RGB, this mouse's predecessor, which is slightly cheaper and heavier and does have a less responsive sensor. And so it can really be said that the Scimitar RGB Elite offers that ultimate MOBA experience and is perfect for your gaming needs in those sorts of games. And as always, if you like what you see here, we'll leave an Amazon link to the Scimitar RGB Elite down below if you want to pick this up yourself. And all that remains for us to be said is to like, share and subscribe, and we hope you enjoyed the video.